The headline is clear: Lindsey Graham's death renews the debate over an aging Congress. He was a 71-year-old Republican from South Carolina who died suddenly, shocking colleagues and voters alike. The loss of a senior senator amplifies a conversation that has been simmering for years. The Senate, and the House as well, now has more than a third of its members who are 70 or older. In the past few decades, that cohort has grown markedly. Systems and norms inside Washington reward seniority and tenure, giving the eldest the most influence on committee chairs, rulemaking, and the day. That structure has drawn criticism. The casual arrival of a new term always reshapes California House seats or the next delegate in Nevada, but the Senate's rhythm is less turbulent. 6-year terms with high re-election rates create insulation for incumbents. Seniority means that after a few terms a senator can become a committee chair, a position that shapes the pace and focus of legislation. The longer a member stays, the more entrenched their network becomes, the more senior a member, the more power they wield in setting the docket, negotiating the details of a bill, and deciding what's debated. The rule has worked, but it also means that in recent elections a few corporate or special interest allies can be amplified with the weight of age and experience. Graham's death, then, feels almost symbolic. He was a figure who sat him. He was a senator who had viewed the Senate through the lens of decades of service, 30 years or so. His experience was that of a person who had sat at the same table for a generation. Critics point to how that perspective can let older cohorts linger, even when health concerns start to creep in. He was 71, and Congress now has older incumbents working on the same committees, some moving towards the opposite end of the spectrum than a decade ago. The presence of so many seniorists means that the youth movement in Washington is fighting for space in an environment designed for the long term. One might ask, what does it mean to have seniority as an advantage? In practice, the committee chairmanships, the control over what comes to the floor, and the sway of individual voices on Mac with the help of handshake meetings made over the years, all become items of political leverage. Too often, commentators point out that the older generation holds bureaucratic power that may no longer reflect the current demographics or policy priorities. The Senate has a list of ages, an endorsement that one's career is measured in status, not in have to move on or retire. A Senate where almost a third are 70 or more raises questions around the capacity and energy of those who sit on the same committees. The conversation turns to reforms that would see passive retirements or a capability-based evaluation of committee eligibility. Some propose term limits, or a policy that would encourage a younger cohort to win re-elections. Others argue that the institutional memory of seasoned lawmakers is vital in a country that faces unprecedented crises and reminds us that seniority built a network of knowledge that can coordinate responses quickly. Yet that very same memory can be lost if the caucuses cling to something that may no longer be relevant. In closing, Lindsey Graham's unexpected passing puts a fuller face on that argument. He was a name that had stood in Washington, carrying experience that China and others use when they debate whether communities should stay on or leave the voting system. Whether we choose to keep the older cohort in power or steadily encourage new voices into the Senate remains a question for voters. For now, the death signals that age is not an abstract statistic, it is a tangible concern that will need solutions shaped by those who uphold it. Thank you for joining us for today's brief review. We'll keep updating you on how Congress's age policies evolve as we watch the future of the nation's leadership. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep listening.